Globalization has gradually deprived us of many freedoms, the loss of which we now generally regard as natural because we were born into an environment where we were deprived of them from birth. Let's talk about the 4 great freedoms that we have already lost and which we may not be able to recover so quickly. I hope that one day these liberties, which we no longer have, will return thanks to the brave men and women who are prepared to fight for them. Lost freedoms. Well, lost is not the right term. Stolen liberties will be more accurate. We will start with the freedom of travel. In principle, everyone has the right to travel freely in the world, and no government has the right to restrict this. The grandparents of my grandparents could travel freely from one country to another without restrictions. They did not need a driving license for a horse-drawn carriage, or insurance policy, or a visa to travel to another country. They could use their freedom of travel and travel wherever and whenever they want to go. There was no one on the border who searched their suitcases or asked for a valid passport. Country borders, as we know, were established only in the 20th century. Today, as a pedestrian, in some countries, if you approach a group of people on the street, you could be convicted of breaking a law banning assemblies. Because you happen to be in a particular place where members or gatherings of people are forbidden. The freedom of travel has been systematically destroyed. We are born into an environment in which this freedom no longer exists. But our ancestors were able to enjoy completely freedom of travel. Perhaps they were subject to different forms of repressions, but there was full freedom of travel between countries. They could go wherever they wanted to go. Today, this is not possible, and we think that these restrictions are completely normal, but they are not. The freedom of self-determination. Today, in industrialized countries, it is impossible to live self-determinately. If you do not have a bank account, for example, you are practically an illegal person. You need a bank account to pay your bills. You cannot plant freely on your land. If you want to keep cattle, you need a veterinary certificate and official permit. There is no freedom of self-determination anymore, because it was destroyed. The grandparents of our grandparents had this right to self-determination. If they had a field, for example, they could do all these things that I just described, and using cash, they could trade and work without bank or bank accounts. The right to freedom of expression. The right to freedom of expression allows everyone to express their opinions. In some countries, for example, you cannot contradict an official accepted version of history and claim that this or that event was quite different, or that the official information is wrong. This is not allowed. It is important that there is a diversity of opinion in a democracy. But today this is becoming more and more restricted. You cannot meet freely in public with a group of people in order to hold a demonstration. No, first you need to request permission and obtain an official permit. The freedom to choose medicine and treatment. We are denied free access to medicine. Our doctors act as gatekeepers for treatments. In my home country of Spain, for example, it is forbidden to collect plants from nature. Every day, more and more medical plants, their cultivation, processing and distribution are prohibited. Previously, people had the freedom to use these plants. And there's another important freedom that we have been deprived of. Among all the freedoms I have mentioned, this is the most important, because it has direct influence and impact on our health, our lives, and our children's lives. But it is not too late to change this. Here are some examples how special interest groups try to limit this freedom. The rejection of natural health therapies by the Brussels EU, the adoption of EU Food Supplement Directive in 2002 was a direct attempt to protect the interest of the pharmaceutical cartel. The directive has been designed to limit the types of vitamins and minerals that can be contained in food supplements and pave the way for the establishment of maximum permitted levels of these essential nutrients. The Brussels EU prevents people from learning the facts about natural health approaches. The Nutrition and Health Claims Regulation of the Brussels EU was adopted in 2006. This regulation prevents people from learning the facts about natural health therapies. Health for all cannot be achieved with this Brussels EU. The Brussels EU is not democratic. None of its most important representatives were elected by the people. The Brussels EU rejects natural health therapies. It was designed to serve the interests of large corporations, for example, the pharmaceutical cartel. In order to achieve our goal of health for all, we must reject the Brussels EU and replace it with a People's Europe. You can help us achieve this. Support our petition for a Europe for the people, by the people, in which the interests of the people are placed before the economic interests of corporations and international cartels. We want to prevent our children from losing more of their freedoms. We need a new Europe. You need a new Europe. Here is where you can support this petition.